All right. Well, good. I'm glad you're here. We are on week 3 of the Disciples Roadmap. And I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed the first 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to today and the next several weeks, so I think we've got some good stuff going. Today, we're going to be on really stage 1. The first 2 weeks, we were talking about what's the disciple's destiny. In other words, what's the point of being a disciple? Where are we going with this? And we decided that our goal, our objective, is to be like the Master. We're going to learn everything we can to be like him. We want to be like him in every way so that we can be like him in every way. And we can carry on the ministry or his mission going forward. Now that he's left this earth, he's left us in charge to do it. So that's the point. That's the destiny. We did that the first 2 weeks. So today we're going to move up to appreciating God, which is what I'm going to call stage 1. And we're going to talk about first things first. First things first. All right. Before we do that, let's do a couple things. Let me make a special announcement. Next week, we're going to start on Sunday night we're going to train teachers. So if you have an interest in being a teacher or teaching, we're going to do a couple things. So next 2 Sunday nights, we're going to help you be a teacher. So if you're a little nervous or not sure or whatever, Doug is leading it. I'm working with him on that. And we'll take the lesson that's going to be scheduled for 3 weeks out, which is Super Bowl Sunday. And those teachers will have an opportunity to teach. My class, Doug's class, Mark's class. We'll just kind of put you in different places and give you an opportunity. So it'll be a safe place. It'll be a good lesson, and you'll be prepped for. But anyway, that's what we want to do is kind of get you, if you're interested or think you might be wanting to teach, come and join us there. And that's the purpose of it. So the next 2 weeks we'll be on that on Sunday night. So in 3 weeks, on September 11th, February 11th, we won't really have this Disciples Roadmap class. We'll have the class from the quarterly, and we'll give you those materials. So if you're interested, let me know. Talk to Doug. He's going to announce it today. All right, any questions on that? All right, I've actually modified this. So this is kind of what I want to be our motto. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I will follow him, or I follow him wherever he leads me. And then I added, his will is my will. So let's all say this together. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I follow him wherever he leads me. His will is my will. And like Tom alluded to, we may not be able to say that with conviction today, but really that is what we want to be able to claim. We want to say, this is who I am. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I will follow him wherever he leads me. And his will is my will. And you know, that may be sometimes and sometimes not, but I want it to be my all-time thing. So there's a motto for you. And then this is just a quick survey. If you would pass some of these out. If you would put down a number from 1 to 10, don't put your name or anything like that. I'm kind of doing a survey. So the way Disciple Roadmap kind of came up for me was kind of a need to put in order how we learn the lessons of being a good disciple. And so that was working in my heart for several months, starting way back. Well, something similar is starting right now. I'm really, really getting excited about teaching on spiritual gifts. God is really impressing on me the need for spiritual gifts, and we're going to do that. So this is a question. It's just a survey. Again, you can put down whatever you think. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you know what your gift is? I'm not asking you to claim it or say I do it all the time. Do I know what my gift is? And if it's a 8 or 9, put an 8 or 9. It's just a survey to kind of see where we're at on how well people know or are confident that, this is my gift. If I came up to you and said, what is your spiritual gift? Would you have it? I mean, I know it's kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to say it. Fine. But kind of do you have a picture? And then anyway, you can fold that up. It'll be anonymous. It's just for kind of to measure where we're at, and then pass those in. All right? Let's look at last week. Did everybody do the week 2 planner? Did you go through the planner this week? Did you like it, not like it? What did you find interesting or important in there? Any lessons that maybe you want to share? Well, let me ask you a different question. When I print it out, there's parts that are in blue or that are highlighted. They're links. So if you opened up the file that I sent on the email, does everybody open up the file that I sent on the email? It's got the links, and that makes it easier to navigate. So you could use the one I'm going to hand out. In fact, this is week 3. We're handing out right there.
Nobody reads that.
Yeah, everybody just reads there. But if you get it off of the internet, it's got links, and it takes you right to those passages, and it makes it a little simpler. So, but last week we talked about the parable of the sower. Did anybody have a preference of one of those versions over the other? It's recorded in Matthew and in Mark and in Luke. It's a little different in each.
I like Luke.
Luke is nice, yeah.
I think it was a little bit,
This flows better.
yeah, and it seemed to speak to me a little bit more.
Yeah,
I like Luke.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, I used last week, he uses the word for the good soil, that the seed becomes mature. I like the word mature. The others didn't use the word mature, but now that I'm a 60-year-old man, I like it. I like the word. No. All right.
I put down Mark, but I didn't put why.
All right.
Now I'm thinking, maybe I should go back and look at Mark a little closer.
Well, I know that's supposed to say your homework for this week is to go back and mark and look at it again. So you got a little extra homework, buddy. No, I appreciate that. Did you give any thought to how you improve soil? Well, how do you improve soil out in the world, out in the pasture?
Most of it isn't good on its own.
Yeah.
You have to do something.
You have to work with it, don't you? Yeah.
Add something to it, make it mature.
Yeah.
Most of it.
And then we compare that to our lives. What does God have to do in my life to soften me up? So when he says jump, I say, well, how high?
A lot of it is, you gotta figure out what soil you're starting with.
Yeah.
Because if not, you can't just put something in that you did the last soil versus the first soil. So you have to work a little harder at it.
Yeah.
The other one, you're just kind of like cruising, but you can start it at first, whether it's on a gravel road, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't tear it up, so you're gonna have to haul stuff in or whatever, so I mean, it's just a little more work. It's not that you can't stop, it's a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there depends on where we are in the process. And we can start with having to break. Some people are hard and have to be broken up. God has to sometimes remove rocks out of my life. And then sometimes there's just weeding, taking out, look, Rick, you have an affection for, this distraction, that distraction, other things in life. So that's a good thought process. And then in the mirror, did God show you how you have reacted to his word? How does a rich soil person react? I think I like the word rich soil. Are you rich? Well, I'm not rich. No, but are you rich in terms of full of nutrients and full of life? And then do you have any questions? Any questions from this last week before we move on? All right, I'll take that as a no. All right. You remember we're going to go through our verse. That's actually your clue. So here we should be. Come. All together. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will teach you to fish for men. People. You're right. At once, they left their nets and followed him. Mark 1, 17 and 18. All right?
16 to 17.
17 and 18. Mark 1, 17. There it is. Come, let's say it all together one more time. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and followed him. Mark 1, 17 and 18. This will fade off our board for next week. Yay. Here's one we learned last week. This is talking about the thorny soil. But the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Mark 4:19. Let's do that one more time. But the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of riches, and the desire for other things enter in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Mark 4:19.
Like riches or wealth, if you
Well, yeah, no, I learned it in the New American Standard, and it's riches, deceitfulness of riches. In the NIV, it's deceitfulness of wealth.
Fishers of men throw me on the other one.
Fishers of men is another one. And you're welcome to memorize it in whichever version you like the best. We're just, for here, we're going to do it. We'll do it here, this way. And then we get to today. This is today's memory verse. You'll get it again. It's on the homework. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Mark 12:30. All right, let's say that together. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Mark 12:30. Okay. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. Hey. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Mark 12:30. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your mind and soul. Oh man. I had to do push-ups. I'll do them later. Trust me. So let's do this. Let's start again. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Very good. Mark 12:30. And if you're trying to keep it in order, which I have a hard time keeping it in order, as you know, it's HSMS. HSMS. So, actually, what's interesting is in Matthew, it only has the 3. It only has the 3. It doesn't have strength. And then in Luke, it has strength in mind backwards. Not backwards, but
Interchange.
yes, interchanged. Mark would say, Luke's got it backwards. And Luke would say, no, little brother, you got it backwards. All right. Today, we're beginning appreciating God, stage 1. And where would we start except with what's the first greatest commandment? What's the most important? The most important thing. So when we think about the most important thing, say that with me. The most important thing. I take Jesus' words, and we're going to go with the greatest commandment. All right? This is recorded also in 3 of the Gospels. All right? But so it's in Matthew, it's in Mark, and it's yeah, I was saying that's in 3. So here's a question: what is the most important commandment? You've already memorized this, haven't you? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. Mark 12:30. All right, so this is, I'm going to call it, so Jesus said, because a man came to him and said, what is the greatest commandment? And in my mind, I first would think, well, let's go to the 10 Commandments. But Jesus doesn't go to the 10 Commandments, strictly speaking. Jesus goes to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5, and he quotes this. So it's a little bit different. Now, I'm not raised in the Jewish tradition and go into temples, so I don't know if, what. But again, I expected maybe somewhere else. This is the answer that Jesus gives. What is the most important? He says the greatest. I'm going to use the word most important because I want you to see it like that. Love the Lord your God. And then he goes with all, with all, with all. And when I looked at that, I thought, this reminds me of Jack's funeral. Again, the ministry, the testimony of Jack Dre still speaks today. At the funeral, the man from the Recovery Relief, he was telling a story about how Jack took to heart the book All In. And whenever he would call with a project, Jack would say, I'm all in. Which is a good testimony. That was one of the things from that funeral, or that worship service, if you will, that spoke to me. Jesus said, Rick, are you all in? And I had to think, well, okay, now I'm all in. I'm going to be all in. And I'll tell you that worship service of Jack's funeral had an effect on me. It changed some of the things I'm doing because I thought, I'm going to be all in. Right? And when I see this, love the Lord your God with all your heart. I focus on heart and soul and mind and spirit. We'll talk about that a little bit. But the more important thing is love the Lord your God with all. I would, if I was shortening the scripture, I would just shorten that to say, love the Lord your God with all. That's what Jesus is saying. This is the most important thing. But why? Why is this the most important? Because this is a verse that sometimes for me has been like, yeah, but what does that mean? That's a big thing. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. What does that look like? And why is, or is it just a throw-in verse, like, well, this is the most important, love the Lord, which I already know. But what does it mean? So, why is this the most important? Why would Jesus pick this out as number one? So let's look at a couple things. This is why it's the most important thing. This is where we're going to start. As a disciple, where we start is with love the Lord. We're just going to chop it right there first. Love the Lord is the most important thing. If you get nothing else, well, maybe I'm not winning disciples and witnessing to the lost. Let's start with love the Lord. It's the most important thing. If I don't tithe, they'll deal with that later. The most important thing is what? Love the Lord. If I don't stop doing this and start doing that, all the other commandments, we'll get to that. What's the first thing? Love the Lord, right? With love the Lord is number one. If that's the first thing, that's the most important thing, then a lot of things in my life and your life fall into order, right? My priorities start getting aligned with God's priorities. Is that a good thing? Yes. Is that what I want? Yes. My values become a little different than what they used to be, right? I start to value the things that my love values. As I make this my number one, to love God, then my desire changes. I don't desire the things I used to. You know, again, we talked about Elisha asking for a double portion. And sometimes we might ask, well, Lord, I just want a 10% portion of you. When I say I just want 10% of your spirit, you know, just give me just a little bit. What we really are saying is, I'm only in for 10%. Because I also have my boys and my games and my career. It's going great. And I still want to do this on the weekends. When we say we only want 10% of God, we're really saying, I want this and this and this and this. So loving the Lord your God is number one. Straightens out a lot of that stuff. Little by little. And again, we're talking about the progressive nature of this. I start to change. My desires start to change. David says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And it doesn't work like overnight. Maybe you can. But a lot of times he starts stripping away little pieces of me. So my desires become in order the way they should be. And then the follow-on of that is my life, right? Then my life becomes in order. My finances, my schedule, my time, all those things come into order if I get the number one right. And so this is the point we want to drive home, is that number one, the most important thing, if you focus on nothing else, is we want to fall in love with God. And so the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks counting this week, 7 weeks counting the skip week, but anyway, in the next several weeks, stage one is learning and developing loving God. We're going to look at his beauty, his character, his handiwork. We're going to learn to praise him and the power that's in the praise. When we praise God, he changes our heart. Did you know that? He starts doing things. Thanksgiving. We'll go back to do Thanksgiving level 1. We'll do some prayers. But the focus of appreciating God is to get him to be love the Lord your God, number 1. Right? That's number 1. Without, this is the part that Jesus doesn't describe, is, well, if I don't have love the Lord as my number 1, then what happens then? What happens if I don't do that? I say, I like to go to church, but I also like this and this. I like God. But others. What happens? Well, then, if the love of God, love the Lord is not my number 1, then I won't do what? I won't seek him. If I got no interest in God, if I don't like him, I mean, how many of you seek out people that you don't like at work? How many of you avoid them? So it's important to love God, because if I love God, then what am I going to do? I'm going to look for him. I'm going to look for opportunities. Look for opportunities to be with him. It's not, we're going to compare it in a few minutes to maybe your love life early on. You know, puppy love stage, when you're dating, teenager. You have that person that you love or you like. Not. What are you trying to do? Yeah. I know she walks to class from here at 10 to 10:15. I think I'll be on that path. How many have done that? Or something like that. You know what I'm talking about, right? If we like we pursue. If we don't like, without this, we won't seek God. And if you don't seek God, you won't find God, right? Spend time with God. Here's another one. If you like God, if you like a person, if you like your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you know, that special person, what do you try to do a lot? Spend time. The same thing happens with God. The more we learn to the more we like God, I'll say learn to like God, the more we want to spend time with him, the more we will spend time. Again, I spend time with who? People that I like. Without loving God, number one, we won't put in the effort. That make sense? God's going to have some requirements for us in the growth process. We've already talked about this in the Disciples Roadmap. There's homework. There is, we're going to go through this, well, let me skip forward because we're going to cover this again. But we've got to put in the effort. And we won't do that if we don't love God first. If he's low on, if he's not number one, if he's number 7 or 8 or 4 or 3, where are my efforts going to go? Yeah. How many have had a to-do list that you put on something new and it always stays down here because I always put something else up, you know? Have you had that one where you put on, I'm going to build a fence this year. And then next January I say, no, I'm going to build a fence this year. What happened in that? Other things come in. That's like that, our verse, you know, the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desire for other things come in. And they do what? Choke the word. The same thing happens. Persevere with God. There are going to be some hard times. You and Christ, you and God will go through some challenges for your benefit and for his, but it will test you. First, I originally had this as wrestle with God, because wrestling with God is an important element of what we will do. You're going to get to a place where I want to know the answer. Lord, I need you to change me. I'm going to be like Jacob when he wrestled with the angel in the wilderness. I will not let you go until you bless me. If I let go, if I don't love God, number one, I will let that go. I'll just let it go and worry about something else. And then just enjoying God. We can enjoy, we are meant to enjoy God. Picture the Garden of Eden. What God created in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve is what he wants to restore in us. The ability to talk to us, to enjoy us. We enjoy him. Talk to him in the cool of the day. So, number one, love the Lord your God. It is our top priority. It is square one. It's where we start. If we don't get this right, we don't get a lot of the other things right. And some of the struggles that we find in discipleship in our life, you know, if I look back over the last 40, 50 years of my life and look at the struggles in my life, some of them stem from not loving God first. Oh, I think I'll have to do that. Well, okay, I'll have to evangelize. I'll have to go witness. But I do it in my own strength, not from a love of God. And it becomes hard. It becomes a chore. And it becomes unattainable, really, in some ways. The starting point, top priority, is love the Lord, number one. Any questions on what's number one? If we leave this room and somebody taps you on the shoulder, what's the most important thing for a disciple? What's number one? Can you answer that? Yeah, that's it. So here's the next question. Because as I mentioned before, this is a big verse and it's kind of, pardon the term, I'm going to use the word throwaway verse. Kind of, okay, well, that's on the shelf. It's kind of like there. It's not like, I don't know how to love the Lord your God. I don't know what that looks like. How do I do that? Right? That's a big ask. If that's number one, that's the most important. I can't jump all the way into Peter and Paul and James and the martyrdom guys. I'm not there. How do I get to loving God with all my heart? How do I do that? Let's go through some, because I think that's an important question. Because if we don't know how, or we can't even wrestle with how, a lot of times we'll just set it on the shelf. Well, I can't do that. Like love your enemy. Jesus said, love your enemy. Yeah, well, I can't do that. I'll focus on something else. I'll go to church every Sunday. Again, we'll pick something else. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Kind of comes in a similar category, at least to me. So let's look at how. And I want to again present it as a progressive nature of something. Again, when we talk about a disciple, well, there's a level 10 disciple. There's a level 5 disciple, and not level like you got a badge or a rank. It's nothing like that. But there's a level of commitment. We all start on our road in discipleship as a level 1. We are a believer. I just believe you, Lord. And Jesus says, follow me, and said, okay, I'll follow you. But then as we progress following Jesus, we get to other crossroads. And you remember John 6:66, some of them left him, turned back, and followed him no more. In other words, they got so far, and then he started teaching something a little bit harder, like, well, I don't know about this bread of life thing. How you are the bread? So they got a difficult teaching, and they said, well, I'm out. So we all progress at different stages of my life. So I might have been used to being this level, now I'm this level, and vice versa. So let's look at road to mature love. Because when I see the verse, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength, I see a mature love. Right? I see something that is robust, that is give. And I know that that's not how it starts. So I'm going to present it like this. When love starts, let's just do this. When love starts, for me, I'm going to use the word puppy love. Because I'm going to relate this back to an earlier stage in my life where Dorothy and I were in puppy love. Or wherever you were. Right? What are some characteristics of puppy love? Colby, you want to confess or anything? Well, we'll talk about, I'm going to break these down here a little bit. So I'm going to take it in stages. So this is where I'm going. So from puppy love, then I say it's easy love. We spend time together. Things are good. We like each other. We even say the word love. Then we go to committed love. It's a little bit different, right? It's a little bit more robust. It's a little bit stronger. It's a little bit more mature. It's a little bit more durable. You see, the nature of love changes as we go. And then we'll also go through, we have to be through committed love before we can do tough love very well. And if you spent many, many years with your spouse, you've been through some tough times, and it took all that you had to give. So we'll go through tough love, and then we get to mature love. And so when I read Mark 12:30, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength, I see a mature love. And that's where we're going to get. So the request, the way that I see it, is that the ask is get on this road. In other words, let's start with puppy love. So here we go. Let's look at some things about puppy love. And if you don't like that term, you can tell me and I'll change it, or you can substitute your own. Again, I'm not married to that. It is kind of an idea, right? And this is where we start. This is where all relationships start. This is where our relationship with God starts. We like. So we see something attractive, or we see something that may be missing. It's a hole. I see something there that's missing in my life. But a lot of it is about, it might be physical appearance. It might be some surface level stuff, but it's basically I see and I like. If you like artwork, I see a piece of work, an art, I like it. So I'll look at it. I'll look at it. Or a song that you might like, a piece of art and music, I like it. It appeals to me. And then we might use the word in a relationship, early relationship, we might use the word I like. I like him. I like her. Maybe we're still afraid to say the word love, because that might ruin a relationship. I don't know. But we're not sure there. But I know I like. So that's what I'm calling the first level. And this is where we're going to look at this is what I'm calling stage 1. I want you to like God. And the first 6 lessons are going to be we're going to talk about his character, about his handiwork, about how he loves us before we loved him. And this is love, not that we loved him, but that he loved first. So that's stage 1. And this is a stage actually you can do with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and all your strength. Again, this is not mature love, but if it's where you're at. Again, we're thinking back, would you do, Jerry?
It's kind of like a hidden love. Seriously, because you're not going to tell nobody about that. You're not going to on any of that until you get to the next part. So it's really a secretive love, whatever you want to call it, just your thought pattern. And it's hard to understand. And puppy love the same thing because puppies can't say nothing. They just they look at you, give you eyes, all that garbage, and cuddle up against you.
All that garbage.
I just have to have one. So I really don't know. But
That's not my God.
Sounded good to me.
All that.
that's a good word, but it's like a hidden love because you're not going to really express yourself for a while.
Well, going back to that, talk about a real canine. A puppy is full of affection, full of energy, full of zest. So that would be a good picture here. Whereas a mature dog with mature love acts a little differently, doesn't it? He, she. It's reliable. It's always there. And one of the benefits is lower energy. We're going to start with appreciating God. All right? And you can put whatever picture helps you with that. But again, the idea is that we want to get in the next few weeks is we want to focus on appreciating God for who he is. Because when we get that, we're going to desire the next stage. And the next stage is communicating. The next stage I'll call easy love, but we spend a lot of time together. We talk, maybe for hours on the phone, or we're texting all day. I don't know what it is now. But we spend time together. We talk to each other. And again, we're gonna hit this with communicating with God. That's our stage 2. Our stage 2 is going to be communicating with God. How do I hear his voice? How do I know what he's saying? how he hears me, how I pray. We're going to talk about prayer. We're going to go through some lessons on praying, how I pray, because we want this communication. I like God. Now I want to talk to him. We want to have a relationship. If you want to have a relationship, it's got to be more than just the visual. It's got to be getting to know each other. Discovery. Easy love is kind of, again, discovery and getting to know each other. And then we can maybe say the word, I love him. Now with God, we'll say that pretty easy. I mean, in the church, do you love God? Well, yes, I love God. I love God. But what the question here is, as I get to know him, then that word changes its meaning, doesn't it? It changes its meaning there. Because then we're going to talk about committed love. In a human relationship, that might be a marriage. It's like, okay, I've decided this is the one. And in doing so, I'm going to have to give up some of myself. And I'm willing to do that. I make a decision or a commitment that no matter what, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, sickness, health, all of that. And we can do the same, something similar we develop through our disciplines toward God, no matter what. I'm committed to you. I'm committed to loving you. I like you. Now I get to know you and I like you. I love you more because I know you. But now I'm willing to give up. Now I'm starting to give up my life. Pieces to you. So that's going to be the disciplines. And then we get to, we go through the next level. The next level is we've been through some things together. If you've been married for any length of time, you've been through some tough times. How many's done tough times? Some self-inflicted. Some not so. Do we struggle? But we come through that stronger. And through that storm that we went through together, we shared experience. We got to know each other deeper. We squeeze the lemon and you get, well, in my case, you squeeze a lemon, you get lemon juice. My wife's case, you get orange juice or something sweet. But tough times and good times, we've done that together. We've done it together. Raising kids, we've done that together. In our walk with Jesus Christ, we're going to go through storms together. Jesus sent his disciples out on the Sea of Galilee with us knowing full well what Travis Myers had said, that there's going to be a storm tonight. And they're going to be in a storm. But what did Jesus teach them in that? I'll be with you. I'll be with you. And in one case, they're out in the boat on the stormy sea, and he's asleep, calm as can be. But he's with them. In another case, he's walking on the water, and he says, come on out here with me. We go through storms together with God. You will go through storms together with God. Some of them will be of your own making. Some of them will not. You may get a sickness that doesn't belong to you, and you will wrestle with that. But you will be with God, and you will learn him. He will make you ask questions that you didn't ask before. I mean, most of you know questions that go through, like, where are you in my sickness? Where are you in this? I don't see you. And then what's the poem about footprints in the sand? Where were you? Well, that was when I carried you. But you wouldn't know he's carrying you in those times unless you go through those times with him. So that is a level that we will go there in our relationship with God. Right? Because in this times we learn that I can count on him. You know, in the beginning of a relationship, there's a little bit of fear. Well, what if she doesn't like me? What if she finds somebody else? What if, what if I mess up? What if I do something? There's fear in the early relationship. It stays there, but it recedes, right? As we build a strong love, the fear goes away. And John says, perfect love, I think it's John, perfect love casts out all fear. Again, we're going towards mature love. And then at mature love, boy, it's a little bit different category. It's not you pleasing me. In the beginning, oh, you make me happy. Now it's a little different. Not my will, but your will be done. Fear is gone. And then we're on mission together. Where we end up at stage 7 is I want you to be confident and know a place where you can give your life away with God. He's got a place for you. He's given you a spiritual gift. He's given you a calling. He says there's a mission we can do, you and I. You'll say, Rick, you're different than Mark. You're different than Doug. You're different than. I've got something special in mind for us. Well, we used to do special trips with the kids. And they like that because we have 4, but a special trip was with one child and one of the parents. And we would go do a weekend thing, whatever they wanted. And they kind of liked that because it was just one-on-one. You know? This is a place where we're going to go. God's going to call you. He's going to say, I got a special project. Just you can do. You and me. We'll do it. That's in mature love. Because then he knows he can count on me. And we're together. Does that make sense? So that's kind of where we're going with that. We'll look at the love cycle kind of grows just like a tree. When Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, it doesn't start with a grown tree. It's just like a lot of things. He plants a seed. Maybe he's planting a seed today. Maybe he planted a seed 10 years ago. I don't know when he planted the seed. But he wants that seed to grow into a mature tree. So again, I think of everything on a scale of like 1 to 10 or 0 to 100, So at each stage, we say, well, Rick, I'm just a new believer, or Rick, I don't really have, I haven't been doing much, but I want to, right? I would say at whatever stage you're at, give it your all in, with all your heart. If you have not progressed as a disciple very far, I'm fine with that. What the ask is where you are today. And if it's just puppy love, then do that with all your heart. And what we're going to do the next 6 weeks is there's going to be some practices for developing a love for Jesus Christ. I'm going to give you some passages that foster that. I'm going to ask you to pray that he would show you himself. He will do that. But we can go from, at any stage, whether it's puppy love or easy love or committed love or mature love, we can kind of be toe in. I got a toe in the water. I'm not going to sing the song. I got a toe in the water, or I can be all in. All my heart, all my soul, all my mind, all my strength. So if it's puppy love, which we're going to work on the next 6 weeks. So I want you to say, I'm all in. What would that look like? Well, just thought you might ask. I'm hoping you might ask. Here's week 3. This is the handout for week 3. I'll also email it out this afternoon. It's got some little exercises. They're short. They're not hard. The only one, well, I'm going to introduce one this week that's a little bit more, it's a little bit bigger ask. I'm going to ask you to memorize Psalm 23, the whole chapter, but you can do it. So, do the homework. And in the homework, whatever I've assigned, whatever passage, ask God to increase your love for him. Ask God to help you like him more. To see, and it's really not help you like. The more you see of him, the more you will like. We believe that Jesus Christ is irresistible. When we witness, we understand that to the lost person, if they can just see Jesus, he is irresistible. The guys that brought the crippled man to Jesus and made a hole in the roof and let him down, they were thinking only one thing: if I can just get him to Jesus, then, and that's a similar thing here. If I can just get you to like Jesus, see Jesus up close, the more you see him, the more you love him. I think it's not hard work. It's just letting down and saying, okay, I'm willing to seek you, Lord. Yeah, Jerry.
You know, sometimes we think we have to give something up. We're really not giving something up, we're gaining. But we're thinking we're giving up something that we don't want to give up.
Yeah.
And that's usually the problem where you don't want to
Yeah.
even
Yep.
start that way. And they say, well, he won't like me because he don't know what I've done. Well, he knows everything he's done, and that's the part that people don't understand. With that, they use that excuse to keep away from him. Not knowing that if they just take that first step, he totally changes.
Yeah.
And it's just like that deal when they said the water coming out of the east side of the temple. It works the same way in going to run to God. Sooner or later, you're going to be all in because it's going to be way over here. You know, so right now, some of the younger people just taking that step and it's just barely over their ankles.
Yep.
So remember, going all in, you got to go all in, and it's really hard. Sometimes you get scared. Sometimes you grab hold that root off that river.
Sometimes you swing on the rope swing and you come back.
Yeah.
I never did that. It's not a good idea. Just to let you know. That's the ask. That's the challenge, is that we fall in love with Jesus, fall in love with God more than ever. That's the one thing. I think Curly said that in some movie. You know who I'm referencing. I don't know. City Slickers. Know the one thing.